Today we'll be discussing with the second chapter in Sociology Optional Paper 1 that basically deals with methodologies in sociology. Okay, so we'll be discussing the major methodologies like positivism, phenomenology, feminist methodology, postmodern methodology. Okay, we'll be discussing all this. Before moving to that, I hope you know what you mean by methodology. Okay, so how can we define methodology? What do you mean by methodology as such? Yes, methodology basically refers to the philosophy on which any research is based. For example, while we are trying to study something, let's say we are trying to study a social institution like family or religion, we will have certain ideologies, a certain value system on the basis of which our research will be conducted, right? We'll be having certain fundamental assumptions that would serve as a basis for our research, right? This is what we call as methodology. The fundamental assumption or the values that we put forward when we study something in sociology. That assumptions or that philosophy can be called as what? It can be called as methodology. So how can we define methodology? Methodology basically means it is a philosophy. Okay, it is the philosophy on which the research is based. Okay, the values, the assumptions that would serve as a guiding light for our study, that can be called as methodology. Okay, so I hope the word meaning is clear to you. Methodology basically means the philosophy on which the research is based. Okay, the assumptions, the values that will guide us in our research, that can be called together, can be called as methodology. Okay, so in sociology we'll be discussing the major methodologies in sociology. The first one is positivism. Okay, first one is positivism or positivist methodology. Okay, so what is the fundamental assumption of this methodology? The proponents of this methodology, which basically includes the founding fathers of sociology like Auguste Comte, Emile Durkheim, Herbert Spencer, all these sociologists, they belong or they mainly advocate positivist methodology of sociology, and they argue that sociology is similar. Okay, they argue that sociology is similar to natural science. Okay, natural science in the sense sociology is similar to biology, chemistry, physics. Okay, all these are natural science subjects, and sociology is also a science subject like those. Okay, so what is the speciality of natural science? Yeah, natural science knowledge is uniform, right? A principle of physics, let's say the law of gravity, Newton's law of motion. These are universal laws. Okay, these are applicable across time and place. Okay, so there is a claim of universality. There is a claim of objectivity that lies in natural science. Okay, and the proponents of the positivist methodology argue that sociology is also like that. Okay, so the fundamental assumption is that the methods, the logic and procedure of natural science, it can be applied to the study of society as well. Okay, society, the study of society is similar to the study of physics, the study of biology, the study of chemistry. Okay, this is what positivism argues. Okay, so I hope the fundamental argument is clear. The fundamental argument is that sociology is similar, or it should be considered on the same line as that of other natural science like physics, chemistry and biology. Okay, so that is the core argument. Okay, this would be the core argument. So they are saying that whatever method that is used to study Okay, whatever method that is used to study this natural science should be applied to the study of society also. Okay, for example, in natural science, to study natural science, we'll be basically dealing with what? Quantitative statistical methods, right? So those methods can be used to the study of society as well, to the study of human behavior as well. Okay. So they are arguing that the methods that we use in the study of natural science can be applied to the study of sociology as. Okay. That is the second point. And the third point is that the purpose. Okay. What is the purpose of sociology? And they are saying that similar to what is the purpose of natural science, one major purpose is law making, right? In natural science you can see several laws. There is law of gravity, there is Newton's law of motion, then there is theory of evolution, right? So there are many laws that exist, and as I said earlier, these laws are universally acceptable, universally applicable, right? And according to the proponents of positivism, sociology should also be concerned about making such laws. Law making should be our major concern, and this law will be applicable in all society. Okay, one common example you can mention here, or one common example you should write here, is the law of three stages that is put forward by Auguste Comte. Okay, law of three stages put forward by Auguste Comte. Okay, Auguste Comte said that the all societies in the entire universe will pass through three stages. Okay, that include the theological stage, the metaphysical stage, and the positivist stage. Okay, every society will be passing through these three stages. What is the first stage? The first stage is the theological stage, where religion will be dominant. Okay, and second is the metaphysical stage, where logic would gain importance, and then there is positivism, where observation would gain importance. These are the three stages that is put forward by Auguste Comte. And he said that this is applicable in the entire societies in the universe. Okay. So he proposed a universal applicability of this law. Okay. So according to the advocates of positivist approach, sociology should be concerned about law making process. Okay, this is the third major argument. What was the first argument? First argument is that the subject matter of sociology is same as that of natural science. Okay, second argument is that the methods that we use in the study of natural science should also be used in the study of society. And the third argument is that just like natural science is concerned about law making, sociology should also focus law making. Okay, I hope all these three arguments clear. You can write point by point. First point is subject matter, second point is methodology, third, I mean the method, and third point would be law making. Okay, so you can mention about Auguste Comte as an example. You can mention that. You can also mention about the suicide study that we have discussed in our first class. We'll be discussing this in detail in the fourth chapter where we discuss about sociological thinkers. Okay. So suicide study of Emile Durkheim can also be mentioned. It's also an example that is worth mentioning here. Then you can also mention the different perspectives like functionalism. Okay. So functionalism and Marxism. Okay, so I hope you know that in sociology we have different perspectives, right? We have functionalist perspective, Marxist perspective, phenomenological perspective, ethnomethodology, right? There are different perspectives in for looking to different social institutions. Like family as a social institution can be examined from the functionalist perspective. It can be examined from Marxist perspective. It can be examined from the feminist perspective. So there are different perspectives for studying sociological objects, right? According to functionalism and Marxist perspective, they also rely on the positivist approach of sociology. Okay, that is, they argue that, okay, both of this argue that Let me write here. Okay. Both of them argue that, okay, both of them argue that human behavior, okay, human behavior can be objectively studied, okay, can be objectively studied because, sorry, can be objectively studied because they are regulated by external phenomena, okay. They are the reaction to external scenarios or external situations, because of which human behavior can be objectively studied. This is an argument that is put forward by functionalism and Marxism. Okay, and as we know, if we can study something objectively, it would be similar to natural science. Okay, so we can use natural science methodology in studying these things, right? So, functionalism and Marxism also rely on the positivist approach, okay? Because functionalism says that, for example, let's take the institution, let's take human behavior in a society. According to the functionalist perspective, this human behavior will be regulated by the society in which we live. For example, in a traditional, let's take the case of a traditional society, okay? In a traditional society, the human behavior will be such that he will emphasize on customs, traditions, right? This is what a human behavior will emphasize on. We will value our value our traditions. We will preserve our customs. Okay, but let's take the case of moderns in a modern society. The same human being will be value, or the human behavior will be such that he would the urban life, we know, it will be classified by anonymity. There is no possibility of social distinction. You cannot discriminate people, right? For example, the public transport in urban environment, it is used by people of all caste. Your caste identity becomes less relevant in the urban environment. So in the urban environment, your behavior will be regulated. Your behavior will be such that you will be giving value to anonymity. You will not, your interpersonal relationship between human beings will often be undervalued, unlike in a traditional society. So our human behavior are actually regulated by the society around us. In a traditional society, there would be caste-based identity might be prevalent. Now, for example, in ancient society, the identity, the caste-based identity, the jobs were segregated based on the caste, right? And you are we preserved our traditions, customs, the values, everything was given predominance in the traditional society. But when we come to urban society, as I said earlier, all these caste based distinctions get undermined. Okay, we will not have that interpersonal relationship, will not be as strong as that we have in traditional society. We'll be preferring anonymity, right? Our attitude, the value system that we uphold, everything changes, right? So the human behavior is regulated by, or it is influenced by, the society we live in, or it is by the external factors that we live in. So, according to functionalists, as a result of which, we can study the human behavior objectively. Similarly, Marxism argued that human behavior is regulated by the economic structure of the society. Okay, so both of them argue that positivist methodology can be used in the study of sociological objects. Okay, so they put forward something that is known as nomotic approach. Okay, what they put forward a nomotic approach. What is nomotic approach? Basically means comparative study. Okay, comparative study. Okay, so here we will be using quantitative methods as we use in natural science, and we will be focusing on making laws. We will be focusing on making comparative studies. Okay, this is what positivism primarily focus on. So what is the core argument of positivism? Positivism argued that the subject matter of natural science and that of sociology is same. Then the second argument is that, so we use similar method, that is quantitative methods, can like statistics, survey, everything can be used in the study of sociological objects as well. Third is that just like we have law making in natural science, the purpose of sociology should be making laws. Okay, here you can mention about Auguste Comte's law of three stages. You can mention about suicide study of Emile Durkheim. All this is worth mentioning. And then we also said that the perspectives of functionalism and Marxism also rely on the positivist approach, because they consider human behavior can be objectively studied because it's reaction to external phenomena and hence can be objectively studied. So they rely on the nomotic approach or the comparative study. Okay, I hope the first approach is very much clear to you. Okay, fine. Now the second major approach would be phenomenology, okay, or the phenomenological perspective. Okay, phenomenology or the phenomenological perspective. Okay, now the phenomenology can be considered as the counter, okay, or the counter opposite of positivism. Okay, whatever arguments is put forward by phenomenology is just the opposite of the arguments of positivism. Okay, so that makes easy for you to understand. What was the first argument of we'll make a comparative study so that it will be easy for you to understand. So what was the first point that is mentioned by positivism? Yeah, the subject matter of natural sciences would be same as that of subject matter of sociology, right? Phenomenology argued that no, the subject matter of natural science and that of sociology is entirely different. Okay, subject matter would be entirely different. What was the argument put forward? So first argument is that subject matter of socio and natural science, I'll be putting ns for natural science, are different. Okay, are different. They say that in natural science you are studying about something, like you are studying about matter that has no consciousness, right? But in sociology the fundamental unit of analysis is human beings. Human beings have consciousness, right? So we to the social reality around us, man would have his own meanings. A man would interpret, he sees the world in terms of meanings. Okay, you cannot say that the man would react to this situation exactly in this way. No, the way man would interpret the social reality around him would change across time and across place. There is no uniformity with respect to human behavior because every individual is different and every individual will interpret the social reality in front of him in a different way. Okay, for example, the way I conceive family, I might be conceiving the institution of family as an exploitative institution, while you may consider family as an integrating, as functionally very important institution. And there would be some other person who would be considering family as an exaggerated social institution. Okay, so there can be different perspectives, right? So we cannot say that human behavior would be the same, they would behave exactly like this or like that in a particular situation. Vary across time, it would vary across place. Okay, my perspective about an ideology, it would not stay the same all the time. I might believe in an ideology today, and it is quite possible that, says after some time, like say after 5 years, I would no longer believe that ideology. Okay, I might believe in religion, but it doesn't mean that I will be believing in religion all the time. After some time, I might become an atheist, right? It is quite possible. Am I correct? So we cannot say that human behavior is objective. They are arguing that human behaviors are subjective. It would vary. Okay. So the subject matter of sociology cannot be equated with the subject matter of natural science. Where natural science there is claim of objectivity, it would remain the same. Okay. But that is not the case of sociology. So the subject matters are different. This is the first argument put forward by phenomenology. Now, what is the second argument? Second argument would be with respect to method, right? Second argument would be with respect to method. So that the phenomenologists argue that we should rely on qualitative methods. Okay, we should not rely on quantitative or statistical methods, but rather we should rely on qualitative methods because we are trying to analyze some subjective behavior, and that subjective behavior cannot be objectively analyzed. Okay, so what we need qualitative methods. Okay, we need qualitative methods. For example, ethnomethodology, symbolic interactionism, these are different qualitative methodologies that are used by different scholars in sociology. Okay, so that is the second argument, phenomenology. Now, what is the third argument? The third argument is to counter purpose, right? The third argument is to counter purpose, to which the phenomenology says, or the phenomenological perspective argues, the purpose is not law making. So it is not possible to have a law making. Human beings behave differently. The same individual would behave differently at different time. Similarly, different individuals will be behaving differently at a particular point of time. Okay, so our purpose should not be to make a general law. Okay, rather we should focus on understanding the human behavior. Okay, we should focus on analyzing the subjective experience of individuals. That is what we should focus on. Okay, so basically they say it is all about ideography. We cannot make a comparative study. Every individual, the perspectives of individual, these are all unique. Okay, so to make comparative study of the same would not sound logical. So they put forward an ideographic approach, right? That is a unique. Okay, they emphasize on the uniqueness of human behavior. Okay, every individual is different. Okay, so they consider or they focus on the ideographic approach. Ideography basically means unique events, studying unique events. Okay, so you first study positivism, and phenomenology is nothing but the exact counter opposite of positivism. Whatever arguments put forward by positivism, it would be countered in the phenomenological perspective. Positivism argued that the subject matter of natural science is would be same as in sociology, while phenomenology said no, the subject matters are different, right? No, the subject matters different. Then the positivism argued that method like experiments, quantitative, statistical methods can be used for study of sociology. But here we said no, it is not possible. You have to rely on qualitative method. Okay. And then we discuss what is the of according to positivism, the purpose is what? The purpose is law making. Okay, the purpose is law making. For them, it's not about law making, it's about ideographic approach. It's studying the unique event. Okay, here it is nomotic. As I said earlier, here it would be nomotic, and phenomenology it is ideographic. Okay, so I hope both these approaches are clear to you. These are the two fundamental. There are other approaches like feminist approach, postmodernist approach that we'll discuss in the next part. But these two are the major approaches or major methodologies in sociology which demands a clarity. Okay, so I hope it is clear to all of you. Thank you.